I remember the sound first. Not waves, not wind, but something slower. A hollow knocking beneath the hull, like fingers tapping from the dark water below. The ocean was calm that night. Too calm. No storms. No distant ships. Just fog stretching across the horizon, like a curtain no one meant to open. I was alone on watch, standing near the railing as pale light from the bridge flickered behind me. The sea smelled old, metallic, almost forgotten. Somewhere far off, a buoy bell rang once, then stopped, swallowed by silence. That was when I noticed the shape. At first, I thought it was driftwood, then a shadow, then something impossibly large moving without sound. A ship emerging from the fog without lights, without signal, without life. Its outline looked wrong, older than anything still sailing, its windows dark like empty eyes staring back across the water. The radar showed nothing. No registration, no call sign, no engine noise. Yet it moved closer. The air turned cold. My breath fogged in front of me. Even the ocean seemed to hold still, as if waiting. I raised my binoculars, trying to understand what I was seeing, and that's when I realized the deck was full of people, standing perfectly still, watching me. I never should have answered their signal light. The night sea was calm, late autumn, somewhere beyond shipping lanes where maps felt unfinished. Our cargo vessel moved slowly through dark water, engines humming beneath my feet like a tire heartbeat. Salt clung to the air. Cold mist brushed my face every time I stepped onto the deck. Nothing unusual at first, just black ocean and stars trembling above it. Then the radar blinked. A shape appeared beside us. Too close. I leaned over the railing. Another ship sailed parallel to ours. No lights announcing arrival. No horn. No disturbance in the water. The sea around it remained perfectly flat. Our vessel cut a long white wake behind us, foam breathing and folding into darkness. But the other ship left nothing. No ripple. No trailing wave. It moved without touching the ocean. A cargo vessel. Old design. Rust crawling along its sides like dried veins. Windows lined the bridge, glowing faintly with pale yellow light. Yet the decks were empty. No crew. No movement. Only stillness. The air felt colder near it. My breath fogged even though the wind had softened. I watched the water carefully. It should have pushed waves outward. Every ship does. The ocean always reacts. But this one passed through the sea as if it belonged somewhere else entirely. I called it an over radio. My voice sounded small inside the cabin. Unidentified vessel, state your heading. Static answered, soft at first, like distant rain. Then my own voice returned to the speaker, perfectly clear. State your heading, not delayed, not distorted. Exactly the way I had spoken it. The hairs on my arms lifted. I checked the frequency. Correct channel. No overlap. No nearby ships registered. I tried again. This is cargo vessel Meridian calling. Silence. Then, this is cargo vessel Meridian calling. My voice again, but slower, lower, almost tired. The reply carried a faint echo, as if spoken inside a hollow room. I stepped outside. The other ship drifted closer. Still no wake. Still no engine vibration, crossing the water. Its windows glowed softly, like someone had left lights on long ago and forgotten to return. One window flickered. For a moment, I thought I saw a movement inside, a shadow crossing the glass. I blinked. Nothing remained. The ocean smelled wrong. Less salt, more metal, like wet coins held too long in the hand. Our engines maintained steady speed, yet the distance between us closed. The ship wasn't accelerating. It was turning, slowly, without sound, without wake. Its bow rotated toward us with impossible smoothness, as if guided by invisible hands beneath the surface. No propeller churned. No water broke. Just silent motion. The radio crackled again. Breathing filled the channel. Soft, measured, my breathing. I held my breath. The radio breathing stopped at the same moment. Cold spread across my chest. I whispered into the mic, without meaning to. Who's there? The reply came immediately. Who's there? But the voice carried something new. A faint tremble. Fear. The ship now faced us completely. Its dark hull towered beside ours, blocking stars. Pale light spilled across our deck, like moonlight filtered through fog. I searched for crew. Nothing. No footsteps. No rope movement. No flags shifting. Only open decks waiting. One cabin door slowly swung inward, not pushed by wind, just opening. Inside was darkness too deep to measure. The glow from the windows dimmed slightly, as though aware of being watched. Our radar alarm beeped suddenly. The vessel vanished from the screen, yet remained beside us. Closer now, so close I could see peeling paint flake away without falling into the sea. The water beneath it stayed perfectly smooth, untouched. I felt the strange certainty that the ocean did not recognize this ship, like a memory placed where reality should be. The radio spoke again. My voice whispered one final time. Permission to come alongside. I never answered. Couldn't. The wheelhouse lights flickered behind me. When I looked back toward the water, the ship had already begun drifting away. No turn, no acceleration, just sliding backward into fog that hadn't existed moments before. The glow faded, window by window, until only darkness remained. The sea rushed back to life around us. Waves returned. Foam spread behind our stern. The ocean breathed again. Radar showed empty water. No contact. No signal. Only our own wake stretching into night. But long after it disappeared, I kept watching the surface beside us, because for a few seconds more, the water there stayed perfectly still. Winter settled over the coast slowly. Cold air carried salt and rust together. I had anchored near an abandoned shoreline where charts marked an old lighthouse long out of service. No ships came this way anymore. The lighthouse stood on broken rock, tall and thin, its paint peeled away by decades of storms. Windows were dark, the lantern room empty. Even gulls avoided it. Locals called it dead. Its power lines had been cut years ago. No keeper, no maintenance, just stone and memory facing the sea. The first night passed quietly. Fog rested low over the water, brushing the hull like slow breath. My vessel rocked gently, ropes creaking against metal cleats. Near midnight, a faint glow touched the horizon. I thought it was moonlight at first, then the beam turned. A narrow white light swept across the ocean. The lighthouse had awakened. The beam moved steadily, cutting through fog with impossible clarity. Dust and moisture shimmered inside it, bright and clean, untouched by decay. I stared through binoculars. The lantern room burned with pale light. No generator noise reached me. No electrical hum. Only silence. The beam passed over my ship, warm for a moment, then cold again. It continued rotating until it stopped. Facing me, the light held steady, unmoving. Every instinct told me it shouldn't behave that way. Lighthouses guide ships broadly. They don't stare. Yet the beam followed when I walked along the deck. Left it turned left. Right it adjusted. It tracked only me. My shadow stretched across the boards, thin and trembling. Somewhere beneath the lighthouse, something moved. A shape emerged from fog. An old fishing vessel circled the rocks below the tower. Rusted hull, nets hanging loose like torn cloth. Its engine made no vibration across the water. It moved endlessly in a slow loop, round and round. The lighthouse beam never touched it. Only me. The fishing ship completed its circle again, and again, as if waiting for permission it would never receive. I checked maritime records stored on board. Old logs mentioned this lighthouse. Closed 40 years ago after several unexplained disappearances. Ships reported being guided safely toward it, then vanishing before arrival. Rescue crews found nothing. No wreckage, no oil, no debris, just calm water beneath the beam. My hands felt colder reading the entries. Every missing vessel had one thing in common. A single observer noted the light behaving strangely before loss of contact. Someone had always been watching it. Outside, the beam still rested on me. I stepped into the cabin. Light slid across the window to follow. My reflection looked pale, almost unfamiliar. The fishing vessel below completed another circle. Then something changed. Its rotation slowed. For the first time, It drifted slightly outward toward open sea. The lighthouse beam brightened. The air thickened with fog. I felt watched, not by the ship below, not by the sea, by the light itself. A quiet understanding settled over me. It wasn't guiding ships. It was waiting to be noticed. I stepped onto the deck again and spoke softly, unsure why. "I see you." The words vanished into cold air. The beam flickered once, twice, then it shut off. Instant darkness swallowed the shoreline. No fading glow, no power down hum, just absence. The sudden loss of light felt heavier than darkness should. I looked toward the rocks. The fishing vessel was gone. Only black water remained, gently touching stone. The lighthouse stood empty again, windows lifeless, towers silent against the sky, as if it had never awakened. My radio hissed briefly. Static shaped itself into something almost like a sigh. Then silence returned. The fog began to thin. Stars reappeared one by one. I waited for the light to return. It never did. Morning revealed the lighthouse exactly as charts described it. Dead, abandoned, untouched for decades. No footprints. No signs of electricity. No trace of activity. But when I reviewed my navigation log, a new entry had appeared overnight, recorded automatically. Time stamped at midnight. One line only. Observer acknowledged. Guidance complete. I closed the logbook slowly. The sea felt wider after that, and though the lighthouse remained dark behind me as I departed, I could not shake the feeling that somewhere beyond the horizon, another light had begun searching again. Early spring, international waters, far beyond cruise routes where the ocean feels unfinished. The morning arrived gray and quiet. Low clouds pressed close to the sea, turning everything pale and distant. Our ship moved through gentle swells, engine steady beneath the deck. Radar picked up the contact just after dawn. Large, stationary, no distress signal, no identification response. Only a silent presence drifting ahead. Through binoculars, the outline emerged slowly from fog. A cruise liner, massive, white paint faded to bone color. Rows of balcony cabins stacked endlessly above dark windows. Its name had peeled away, letters erased by time and salt. It shouldn't have been there. No shipping alerts mentioned it. No recent departures matched its design. The ocean around it lay strangely calm. We approached carefully. No lifeboats lowered. No visible damage. No smoke. No movement. Just a ship waiting. I boarded alone. The gangway touched metal with a dull echo that traveled too far along empty decks. The air smelled faintly sweet. Old perfume mixed with damp fabric and salt. Chairs remained arranged beside the pool. Towels folded neatly as if guests might return any moment. Water inside the pool stood perfectly still, reflecting clouds without distortion. A glass slid slightly across the table when I passed. Not pushed, just settling. Inside, the main dining hall waited under dim emergency lights. Tables were fully set. Plates arranged, silverware aligned, wine glasses half filled with dark liquid long evaporated into stains. Napkins rested on chairs as though dinner had paused mid-conversation. Dust lay everywhere, except where hands might have touched recently. I walked slowly between tables. My footsteps echoed too loudly. Then another step followed behind me, soft, delayed. I stopped. Silence returned instantly. No movement. Only hanging chandeliers, swaying slightly, though no wind reached inside. I continued forward. Again, 2 sets of footsteps, mine and one just behind. I turned sharply. Empty room, yet the air felt occupied, heavy with presence. Elevator doors stood open nearby, power dead. Inside, mirrors reflected endless empty corridors behind me. For a moment, shapes seemed to stand within those reflections. Passengers waiting patiently. When I blinked, only my own figure remained. Cabin hallways stretched long and narrow, carpet-muffling sound. Doors closed neatly along both sides. Room service trays still sat outside some rooms, food reduced to dust. A child's shoe rested alone against the wall. Untouched, personal belongings remained everywhere. Books open, phones resting on chargers, jackets folded across beds. No signs of evacuation. No panic. Just interruption. As if time itself had stepped away. Night arrived quickly over the sea. Emergency lights flickered on automatically, bathing corridors in soft red glow. That was when the footsteps returned. Many this time, moving above me, across upper decks. Slow pacing, measured walking. I climbed the stairs toward the sound. Each step felt heavier than the last. The upper promenade opened into open air. Wind brushed my face. The deck stood empty beneath dim sky. Yet footsteps continued along the boards ahead, invisible weight pressing faint impressions into moisture gathered on the wood. Step, 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 stopping at the railing. I approached carefully. The ocean stretched black and endless below. No lifeboats missing. All secured perfectly in place. Chains locked, ropes untouched. Not one had been lowered. Whatever happened here, no one tried to leave. Behind me, another set of unseen footsteps stopped, close enough that I felt breath against my neck. I didn't turn. The silence carried expectation, like people waiting for something to begin again. A faint hum rose from deep within the ship, air systems restarting briefly before dying away. Lights flickered once. In that instant, reflections appeared in every window surrounding the deck. Dozens of figures, standing quietly, facing outward toward the sea. Passengers dressed for dinner, couples holding hands, children leaning over rails. All still, all waiting. The lights stabilized. The reflections vanished. Only darkness remained. I returned to my vessel before midnight. As I stepped off the liner, the ship shifted slightly in the water for the first time. A slow movement, almost relieved. From my deck, I watched it through the night. No lights activated. No signals sent. Just drifting. At dawn, fog rolled across the ocean. When it lifted, the cruise liner was gone. No wake, no debris, no radar trace. Only open water breathing softly under morning light. But sometimes, when the sea grows quiet enough, I still feel those passengers standing somewhere beyond sight. Tables set, chairs waiting, dinner unfinished, as if they believed the voyage never truly ended. Late summer, a routine ferry route between two quiet ports. 6 hours across calm coastal water. I boarded just before sunset. Families carried small bags. Commuters leaned against railings. The smell of coffee drifted from the lower deck cafe. Engines vibrated gently through the floor, steady and reassuring. Nothing felt unusual. The ocean stretched wide and familiar, painted gold by fading light. Gulls followed briefly before turning back toward shore. We left land behind. Night arrived slowly, and then the fog came. It didn't roll in from the horizon. It appeared. One moment, clear water surrounded us. The next, pale gray swallowed the ship entirely. Thick, motionless, heavy against the skin like damp cloth. The horn sounded once. Its echo never returned. Visibility dropped to almost nothing. The world shrank to railings, dim lights, and soft footsteps moving cautiously across deck. The engines continued forward, yet the water beside us stopped moving. I leaned over the railing. No waves formed along the hull. The ferry glided silently through fog that showed no wind, no direction. Even the sea smelled muted, stripped of salt. Inside the passenger lounge, conversations faded into whispers. Phones lost signal. Screens froze mid-refresh. A clock above the doorway ticked normally, then slowed. The second hand struggled, paused, and stopped completely. Every clock followed. Digital displays blinked blank. Watches froze at different times. Only breathing and faint mechanical hum remained. Passengers began looking around with quiet confusion. A woman asked what time we would arrive. No one answered. Minutes felt stretched thin, like something pulling them apart. People stopped checking schedules, stopped talking about destinations. Gradually, small details slipped away. A man near the window frowned, turning his ticket over repeatedly. "I don't remember boarding," he whispered to no one. Others nodded slowly. Why were we here? Where were we going? The question moved silently through the room without being spoken. I tried recalling the departure port. The name hovered just beyond memory. Fog pressed against the windows. glowing faintly as if lit from nowhere. Then another shape appeared outside. A ferry, identical to ours. Same size, same lights, same slow movement. It passed silently alongside us, barely visible through pale mist. No wake followed it. Passengers stood at its railings. They looked calm, still, every face turned toward our ship, toward me. I stepped closer to the glass. One figure at their railing lifted a hand, not waving, just acknowledging. Their face looked familiar, too familiar, like seeing my reflection, delayed by a second. Our ferry continued forward. The other vessel moved the opposite direction. No horn, no signal, just silent crossing. As it disappeared into fog, a strange emptiness followed, like something important had been missed. The lights flickered. Time returned suddenly. Clocks jerked forward all at once. Engines roared louder. Waves slapped against the hull again, sharp and alive. Passengers blinked, confused. Conversations restarted mid-sentence. People checked watches without realizing they had stopped moments earlier. No one mentioned forgetting. No one spoke about the other ferry. Outside, fog began thinning. Shoreline lights appeared faintly ahead. Relief spread quietly through the deck. We docked just before dawn. Crew secured lines normally. Passengers disembarked calmly, carrying bags as if nothing unusual had happened. I remained on board longer than necessary, watching the water. Harbor records later confirmed only one ferry arrived that morning. No second vessel entered port. No radar contact matched what I saw. Yet something felt incomplete, like only half of a journey had ended. That night, reviewing passenger manifests, I noticed something unsettling. Several names listed as boarded, never exited. No reports, no missing person alerts. Just absence hidden inside paperwork. Sometimes I think about the ferry we passed, wondering which of us truly reached shore. Because as the last passenger stepped onto land, I glanced back across the harbor water. For a brief moment, reflected in the still surface. Another ferry rested behind us, silent, waiting inside thin strands of fog. And when the wind shifted, the reflection vanished, leaving only our wake dissolving into morning light. Early winter settled over the harbor. Cold rain tapped against metal roofs and drifted across black water in thin silver lines. The port slept quietly at night. Cranes frozen in silhouette, ships resting against docks like tired animals. I had been assigned overnight radio watch. A simple task: monitor incoming traffic, log routine calls, answer requests for docking clearance. Most nights passed in silence. Only distant static filled the room, warm electronics humming softly around me. Coffee cooled beside the console. Harbor lights reflected in the window, trembling with each ripple of tide. At exactly midnight, the radio activated. No warning tone, just a voice emerging through static. Calm, formal, old-fashioned. Harbor control, requesting permission to dock. The transmission carried faint distortion, as if traveling a very long distance. I checked incoming radar. Nothing approached. No vessel registered within range. I waited, assuming interference. The voice repeated. Same tone, same words. Unchanged. Harbor control, requesting permission to dock. Something about it felt rehearsed, like a recording replayed too many times. I searched archive logs. The same message appeared every night, for 40 years. Each entry marked at midnight, always unanswered. Notes from previous operators were brief. Signal origin unknown. No visual contact. Transmission fades after 3 minutes. I leaned closer to the speaker. Rain intensified outside, tapping against glass in restless patterns. The voice spoke again, slightly weaker this time, requesting permission to dock. A pause followed. Static breathed softly between words. I imagined a ship waiting just beyond darkness, lights dimmed, crew standing quietly at railings, waiting for acknowledgement. Harbor records listed a vessel matching the call sign, a cargo ship reported lost during a storm decades earlier. Severe hull damage, crew presumed dead, wreckage never recovered. Official status: sunk, yet the signal continued nightly. I listened as the transmission looped once more. Something changed in the captain's voice. Fatigue. Loneliness. Not mechanical repetition. Expectation. The harbor outside felt unusually still. Even waves seemed to slow, tide barely moving against stone. I realized no one had ever answered him. 40 years of calling. 40 years of silence. My hand hovered over the microphone. Procedure said ignore unidentified transmissions. But the quiet felt heavier with every repetition. When the voice came again, softer now, requesting permission to dock, I pressed the transmit button. My voice sounded small inside the room. Permission granted. You may proceed. Static surged immediately, louder than before. The signal sharpened, clearing as if distance collapsed instantly. For a moment, I heard ocean wind rushing through open space. Then the captain spoke. Relief filled his words. A gentle exhale. Thank you, Harbor Control. The transmission ended. Complete silence followed. Outside, the rain stopped abruptly. Harbor water flattened, reflecting lights perfectly still. Radar flickered. A contact appeared briefly at the edge of range. Large vessel. Stationary. Then gone. I stepped outside onto the dock. Cold air wrapped around me. The smell of salt returned stronger than before, fresh and alive. For a brief second, I felt another presence in the harbor. Not visible, but close, like a ship easing carefully into berth beside empty docks. Ropes tightening, hull settling against fenders. I heard faint footsteps on wet wood. Measured, professional, crew completing arrival procedures. Then nothing. The harbor returned to normal motion. Waves resumed. Wind carried distant buoy bells across water. I returned to the radio room. A new log entry had appeared automatically. Timestamp midnight. One line added beneath 40 years of unanswered calls. Docking request acknowledged. Vessel received. No ship appeared on any official record afterward. No arrival reported. But the nightly transmission never returned. Midnight passed quietly from then on. Sometimes, during late watches, I still listen carefully when the hour approaches. The frequency remains empty. Yet occasionally, beneath the hum of electronics, I sense gratitude lingering in the air, as if somewhere beyond charts and tides. A captain finally found harbor, and for the first time in decades, someone was waiting when he arrived. Early evening, open ocean, water calm enough to resemble glass. Our research vessel drifted without engines, conducting routine measurements far from shipping lanes. The sky faded from blue to gray while soft wind brushed across the deck. The ocean felt unusually quiet. No gulls, no distant engines, only slow breathing waves touching the hull. I leaned over the railing when the first light appeared. A faint glow beneath the water, soft green, then another and another. Dozens of pale lights shimmered far below the surface, moving slowly beneath us. They pulsed gently, like distant lanterns carried through deep water. The crew gathered silently along the rails. No one spoke loudly. The lights did not scatter like fish. They held formation, watching. The sea smelled colder, metallic. My fingers tingled against the railing, as if electricity traveled upward from the depths. The vessel above remained still, too still. No engine vibration, no anchor chain noise. Just floating. I noticed reflections forming on the surface. Crew members appeared mirrored in the water beneath us. Perfect reflections, until they moved. One reflection turned its head before the person above it did. Another raised an arm slowly while its owner stood motionless. Breath caught in my throat. The reflections acted independently, watching us from below. The lights brightened. Shapes began forming around them. Tall outlines rising slowly upward. Not solid, not clear, just suggestions of human movement where nothing should exist. Something beneath the hull mimicked us. Every shift, every step, but slightly delayed, as if learning. A low hum spread through the water, vibrating through my boots. It felt less like sound and more like pressure inside my chest. The lights rose closer, green turning pale white. One reflection reached upward toward the surface. My own reflection followed a second later, lifting its hand toward mine though I had not moved. I stepped back quickly. The reflection remained, still reaching. The light surged upward suddenly, then stopped inches below the hull. Silence returned. The glow faded slowly, retreating into darkness until only black ocean remained. The hum vanished. Our engines restarted automatically. No one spoke for a long time. Later, when I checked the water again, I avoided looking directly at my reflection, because for just a moment, it seemed disappointed when I left. Late night watch. Open sea. Cloud cover erased the stars. An unused emergency frequency activated by itself. No incoming alert preceded it. Just quiet static turning into whispers. Voices layered over one another, faint and urgent, repeating coordinates slowly. Numbers echoed again and again. I wrote them down. The signal cut off mid-sentence. Every time, another voice replaced it. Same coordinates. Same unfinished ending. Logs showed the channel abandoned years ago after multiple rescue vessels disappeared responding to similar transmissions. No survivors. No wreckage. The coordinates pointed toward empty ocean. I changed course anyway. Curiosity felt heavier than caution. Fog greeted us at dawn. Inside it drifted a ship. Dark hull. Lifeless decks. Exactly where the voices had guided. No movement aboard. Radio static returned as we approached. Each transmission ended abruptly, as if speakers vanished before finishing. Then a new voice emerged. Clear. Familiar. My voice. Calm. Measured. Giving the same coordinates. Warning someone to stay away. The recording described events that had not yet happened. Storm damage. Power loss. Disappearance. Future messages. I listened until the transmission cut off mid-word. Silence followed. I powered down the radio. But long after, I kept wondering who would receive that message next. Morning haze surrounded the drifting vessel. No distress signal. No damage. We boarded cautiously. Crew members lay throughout the ship, sleeping, everywhere, in chairs, on floors, against railings, breathing slow and steady. None responded to touch or voice. Medical readings showed normal heartbeats, deep sleep without dreams, or so we thought. Cabins contained journals. Every entry described the same nightmare. Drowning, endless water filling lungs, while a distant humming comforted them. At night, something changed. One sleeper rose silently, walked to the railing, stood staring into darkness, then returned to bed without waking. Others followed across the ship, moving gently, guided by something unseen below. Outside, the ocean vibrated faintly. A soft hum traveled through metal and bone alike. The water seemed to call them, not violently, gently, like a lullaby. I left before dawn. As our ship pulled away, every sleeper stood briefly along the rails behind us. Eyes closed, facing the sea, listening. We returned to harbor after weeks at sea. Relief settled over the crew as land appeared. But something lingered behind us. A distant silhouette remained on the horizon, too far for identification. Radar showed nothing. Still, the shape followed. Night after night, it appeared farther inside coastal waters, though no vessel entered port records. Harbor reflections revealed it clearly. A ship anchored behind ours. Silent, closer each evening. Crew dismissed it as illusion. I stopped sleeping well. One morning before sunrise, ropes lay tied from empty water to our dock. Knots perfect, freshly tightened, leading nowhere visible. Harbor cameras showed nothing arriving, only ropes securing themselves during the night. I untied them with shaking hands. The water beside the dock remained calm, but the reflection of another ship stayed beside ours long after sunrise, refusing to leave. The abandoned deck accumulated salt quickly during calm weather. At first, patterns formed naturally. Wind traces, drying marks, then words appeared. Simple phrases shaped in white crystals. Storm tomorrow. The forecast confirmed it hours later. Another message predicted equipment failure. It happened exactly as written. Each morning new words appeared, growing more specific, more personal. Do not trust the radio. Stay awake tonight. The handwriting felt intentional despite being made from salt alone. I tried washing the deck clean. By morning, new words returned. One night the message changed. Do not sleep. I ignored it. Exhaustion won. When I woke, salt covered the inside of my cabin floor. Fine white letters forming beside my bed. Clothes enough to touch. The final message waited there. It is already aboard. The sea outside remained calm. Too calm. And from somewhere within the ship, soft footsteps moved slowly along the corridor. Late autumn departure. A routine route expected to last 6 hours. The harbor faded behind us under a pale morning sky. Passengers filled the decks quietly, sipping coffee, watching gulls drift across soft wind. The ocean felt ordinary, comforting. Charts confirmed a straight course toward land waiting beyond the horizon. By evening we should have arrived. But evening never came. The sun lowered slightly, then stopped. Light remained frozen between afternoon and dusk. Hours passed, then more. The shoreline never appeared. Crew adjusted navigation repeatedly. Instruments showed forward movement, steady speed, correct heading. Yet nothing changed outside. The stars appeared that night, sharp and bright. They stayed fixed, not drifting, not rotating. Identical positions hour after hour. Clocks moved normally. Time insisted we were traveling. The world refused to agree. Days blended together. Passengers grew restless. Food supplies adjusted to extended travel, though no one could explain why the journey continued. Photographs taken on board revealed something strange. Faces began fading. At first subtle, features softened, expressions blurred. Then entire passengers disappeared from group photos taken only hours earlier. Chairs remained occupied in reality, empty in images. Only one passenger remembered boarding clearly. An elderly woman sat near the window every day, watching endless water. She asked quietly, "Have we left yet?" I checked departure records. Her name appeared nowhere. One morning I realized I could no longer recall the harbor we departed from. Memory felt thin, like fog dissolving detail. The sea stretched endlessly in every direction, and sometimes, late at night, I felt certain the ship wasn't crossing the ocean at all, but circling something unseen, waiting for permission to arrive somewhere that no longer existed. Calm waters marked the site of a known wreck. Charts labeled it decades old, resting deep below safe diving range. Each night at midnight, a bell rang across the sea. Clear, measured, impossible. The sound carried through still air, echoing gently across water untouched by waves. Divers reported hearing footsteps beneath them while descending, heavy steps walking slowly across the seabed. Sonar scans revealed moving shapes below, human-sized figures pacing around the wreck, walking where no living person could survive. The bell rang again. Each strike vibrated through bone more than air. I listened carefully one night and spoke aloud without thinking. "I hear you." The bell stopped instantly. Silence replaced it. The ocean held its breath. Moments later, something broke the surface far from the ship. Water rose gently. A dark shape emerged briefly, then sank again without splash. The bell never rang after that. But sometimes when the sea grows quiet enough, I feel footsteps moving somewhere below. We discover the freight ship drifting alone at sunrise. No distress signal. Engines cold. Containers stacked perfectly along its deck. Boarding revealed intact systems and empty corridors. Shipping manifests listed ports that did not exist. Coordinates led nowhere on any chart. One container emitted a faint hum at night. Vibration traveled through metal walls, subtle but constant. Curiosity won. We opened it. Inside, waited only ocean water. Clear, still, impossible weight. Readings registered movement within. Ripples formed without cause. Something shifted beneath the surface. Not large, but alive. Sensors detected motion long after we sealed the container again. The hum continued through the night. By morning, several containers showed salt streaks forming identical symbols across their doors. Patterns I had seen before. Messages without language. The freight ship drifted away during fog, leaving no wake behind. We encountered it just after sunrise. A vessel glowing permanently in golden light. The sun appeared fixed above it. Shadows never changed direction. no matter how long we watched. Boarding felt like stepping into pause time. Coffee still steamed in mugs. Breakfast plates half eaten. Clocks inside displayed morning hours yet never advanced. Photographs taken on board showed different times in each image. No two matching reality. Outside, our own ship existed in normal daylight. Inside, morning refused to end. When we departed near sunset, light finally shifted. The golden glow faded, turning ordinary for a brief moment. Then the vessel vanished entirely as darkness arrived, as if it only existed while morning lived somewhere else. Night watch grew difficult after the first sound. Heavy footsteps crossed the deck above sleeping quarters. Slow, deliberate, no crew assigned there. I checked security cameras. Movement appeared, shadows crossing empty corridors without bodies attached. Doors swayed gently as if brushed by passing figures. Each morning, wet footprints marked the deck. Large prints, water dripping slowly from nowhere. They always began at the rail and ended outside my cabin. I stayed awake one night, waiting. Footsteps approached again, stopping just beyond the door. Silence lingered. A faint moisture spread beneath the frame. I held my breath. The handle moved slightly, then released. Footsteps retreated toward the sea. At dawn, the footprints vanished with drying sun, but the deck remained colder outside my door, as though someone still stood there, deciding whether to come inside. Mid-voyage, cloudless sky, calm water stretching endlessly in every direction. Navigation felt routine that morning. Chart stable, course steady, instruments reliable, until the map changed. At first, I thought it was a software glitch. A new island appeared on the digital chart. Small, unnamed, marked only by rough coastline lines drawn in pale gray. No record existed in maritime databases. I refreshed the system. The island remained. Minutes later, another appeared farther ahead. Then another. They formed a scattered chain stretching across empty ocean, where nothing should exist. Radar showed open water, but the map insisted land surrounded us. Crew gathered quietly behind me, watching coastlines redraw themselves in real time. Lines extended. Coordinates shifted. Depth readings altered without input. A ship appeared on the chart, unregistered, moving slowly between the new islands. No signal transmitted. No identification code. Just a silent triangle gliding across unknown territory. We adjusted course toward its last recorded position. The ocean ahead filled with fog. Dense, sudden, unnatural. Shapes emerged briefly within it. Dark outlines rising from water. Structures resembling towers or cliffs that faded the moment we approached. The islands existed only inside the mist, then vanished again. The map continued updating. New coordinates formed repeatedly, always slightly ahead of us, always unreachable. Hours later, a new symbol appeared. Our own vessel, marked in red. Status listed beside it. Missing. I checked surrounding waters. We floated normally. Engines active. Crew present. Yet the chart recorded us as lost. Signal terminated. Location unknown. The map continued updating long after I powered it down. Even with screens dark, faint light traced new lines beneath the glass, rewriting the ocean itself. And for the first time, I wonder if we were still navigating, or being guided somewhere already decided. Late afternoon brought calm seas and low wind. We spotted the lifeboat, drifting alone. Orange paint faded. Emergency markings barely visible. No nearby wreckage. No distress flare. Just silent motion across open water. We pulled alongside carefully. Inside sat a small radio unit still powered. The moment I stepped aboard, voices filled the speaker. Recorded conversations. Crew discussions. Navigation updates. Casual laughter. I recognized the voices immediately. Members of our own crew. Yet all of them were alive and working elsewhere on the ship at that moment. The recording continued, predicting minor accidents before they occurred. Equipment failures. Small injuries. Course corrections. Each event unfolded hours later exactly as spoken. Then a new voice entered the recording. My voice. Calm. Certain. Calling my name directly. warning about an approaching incident none of us had yet experienced. The message ended abruptly mid-sentence. The lifeboat rocked gently. The ocean felt heavier around us. We secured the boat to tow back with us. By morning, the radio inside had fallen silent. Playback erased. No recording remained. But I could not forget the final words spoken before the transmission ended. Words I still had not lived through yet. Storm reports described the ship sinking repeatedly across decades. Every generation recorded the same event. A vessel lost during heavy seas, then seen again days later, floating intact. We encountered it at dawn. Hull scar but complete. No crew visible. Boarding revealed fresh damage repaired impossibly fast. Metal seams restored. Broken rails whole again. Logbooks inside dated across generations. Different handwriting. Same entries repeating. Crew names unchanged despite decades passing. Witness accounts describe identical faces, each sighting. People untouched by time. The ship began sinking slowly while we remained aboard. Water-filled corridors without urgency. As if completing a routine. We retreated quickly. The vessel slipped beneath waves without struggle. Gone completely. 3 days later, reports arrived from another ship. The same vessel sighted again. Floating calmly. Unchanged. The ocean refused to keep it. Like a story unwilling to end. The alarm activated without warning. Emergency tones echoed across empty decks. No smoke. No damage. Yet automated evacuation orders repeated calmly through speakers. Proceed to lifeboats. Crew search corridors. No passengers present. Cabins empty but warm. Personal belongings scattered as of abandoned moments earlier. Lifeboats lowered themselves into water one by one. Ropes released automatically. Chairs swayed gently after invisible occupants departed. On deck, shadows remained where people should have stood. Dark silhouettes lingering without bodies. I checked passenger manifests. My name did not appear. No boarding record existed for me. The realization settled slowly. I might never have been assigned to this ship at all. The alarm stopped. Lifeboats drifted away carrying only empty air. Shadows faded with the rising sun, leaving me alone on a vessel that no longer recognized I belonged there. Night brought violent weather across open sea. Lightning tore through clouds. Waves rose high enough to swallow stars. Then we saw it, a ghost ship resting inside the storm. Completely still. Rain avoided its deck. Lightning froze mid-flash near its hull. White light suspended unnaturally in the air. We approached cautiously. The moment our vessel crossed into the calm surrounding it, all sound stopped. Engines made no vibration. Wind vanished. Even breath felt muted. Time slowed. Raindrops hung motionless beyond invisible boundaries. The ghost ship remained untouched by chaos surrounding it, paint unmarred, lights dim but steady. We circled slowly. Inside the calm, seconds stretched endlessly. Outside, the storm raged frozen in place. When we exited the silent zone, sound returned violently. Thunder crashed. Waves slammed against us. The storm resumed as though paused. Behind us, the ghost ship remained at the center, unmoved, waiting patiently while weather obeyed its presence. Even after the storm passed, radar continued showing calm water where it had stood, as if the ocean remembered to stay quiet there long after the ship itself disappeared. Late night approach. Charts marked nothing unusual ahead, yet the radio refused to stay quiet. Distress calls filled every frequency. Thousands of voices layered together. Captains, operators, frightened crews calling for help from different decades, different oceans, different storms, all converging toward one location. The same coordinates. Our instruments flickered under the weight of transmissions. Screens filled with overlapping signals, each pleading, each unfinished. We arrived at dawn. The ocean lay perfectly calm. No wreckage, no debris, no ships, only open water, reflecting pale morning light. Radar suddenly filled with contacts. Dozens, then hundreds. Phantom vessels appearing simultaneously around us. Cargo ships, fishing boats, liners, silhouettes moving slowly through empty sea. None visible to the eye. Only electronic ghosts arriving together. Lights began glowing beneath the surface. soft points of white and green gathering deep below. The distress calls stopped all at once. Complete silence replaced them. Radar cleared. The lights faded. The ocean returned to stillness. Every signal ceased forever, as if something had finally received them. We found the ship drifting peacefully under clear skies. Its decks were clean, lights warm behind windows. Crew members stood waiting as we approached. They greeted me by name, smiling, familiar. They spoke gently, recalling conversations I could not remember having. Shared voyages, late-night watches, small jokes only close colleagues would know. Inside, photographs lined the walls, images of past journeys. I appeared in many of them, standing among the crew, laughing beside people I had never met. Logbooks described months of travel with me on board. My handwriting filled entire pages. Memories pressed faintly against my mind, almost real, like dreams fading upon waking. The ship felt welcoming, comforting. Leaving became difficult. When I finally stepped back onto my own vessel, several crew members watched quietly from a rail. Their expressions softened with sadness, like friends seeing someone forget them again. As distance grew, I felt an ache I could not explain, as though I had abandoned a life that still remembered me. A lone watchman stood on the deck of an abandoned vessel near sunset, uniform neat, posture straight. He saluted as we passed. No other crew visible. We boarded briefly. The ship showed decades of decay, rust spreading across rails, equipment long inactive, yet the watchman remained perfectly composed. He spoke calmly, explaining he awaited relief that never arrived. Records later revealed his death 40 years earlier. Still, each evening he continued his duty, standing guard, saluting passing ships. When we departed, he faced me directly, raised his hand in salute once more. The gesture felt personal. Acknowledgement between two people sharing the same endless watch. As night fell behind us, his silhouette remained at attention, protecting a vessel already forgotten by time. Every sunset, it appeared, a distant vessel resting just beyond reach. Golden light surrounded it. Figures waved from its deck, calling silently for help. We sailed toward it repeatedly. Distance stretched impossibly. No matter our speed, the ship remained fixed at the horizon. Binoculars revealed faces filled with hope. The moment rescue seemed possible, the ship vanished. Only empty sea remained. Night after night, pursuit continued. Obsession replaced curiosity. I watched sunsets carefully, waiting for its return. Eventually, I realized the truth. The ship was not waiting to be saved. It was guiding pursuit itself. An endless chase across fading light. A promise that could never be reached. Loneliness settled deeper each evening as the horizon carried it away again. Final voyage. Open sea under quiet stars. Coordinates from every encounter began aligning. The ghost ships, the signals, the lights beneath water, all pointed toward one vast location. We arrived near midnight. The ocean felt aware. Stillness surrounded us, not empty, but observant. Symbols appeared across instruments and decks, identical to those seen on drifting vessels before. Each mark connected the encounters like chapters of one story. I understood slowly. None of the ships were isolated events. They knew each other, shared something ancient moving beneath tides. The ocean itself felt conscious, patient, guiding rather than haunting. Far ahead, a vessel appeared beside us, a cargo ship without a wake, windows glowing faintly. The same sight from my first memory at sea, the beginning returning as the ending. Recognition settled quietly. I had not discovered these ships. I had been led to them. Each encounter stepped along an invisible path, each mystery preparing me to understand. The ocean keeps its stories, and sometimes it chooses someone to witness them. The ship turned slowly toward us without engines. Water remained undisturbed. I felt no fear, only acceptance, because I realized I was no longer simply passing through these waters. I belonged to them now. Another observer added to the endless crossing. The sea breathed softly around the hull. Stars reflected perfectly below. And somewhere beyond sight, other ships waited, listening, remembering, guiding the next traveler home.